Good morning.
Good morning.
So today's message is entitled A Little Known Secret. So here we go. As we enter into daylight savings, we do what? Do we fall back?
Actually, we're out of daylight.
Which means what as far as daylight?
There's
Later in the morning.
Yeah.
there's
So it's
less.
lighter in the morning and it gets darker.
Earlier.
Yeah. And so how does this affect you?
I love it. Get an extra hour of sleep.
Okay, but after today,
It's the
I don't like
what's
the
that?
dark.
It's the
I don't like the
spring.
dark nights too much, or the dark evenings.
I know, I like waking up in the morning when it's bright, but
yeah.
I don't like driving home in the dark.
Wow, okay. Is anybody, now this is nice because I wasn't expecting such a positive response. Does anybody get seasonal affective disorder?
Oh, I do.
Sad.
I
get a
little.
That's the whole different.
I have to have the bright.
That's really,
I don't like it at all.
you don't like
That's
that.
that's just from clouds all the time.
Yeah, and more darkness,
Yeah, not much sunlight.
not much sunlight.
Yeah.
Okay. So, given that, does anybody feel a little bit more depressed?
Yes.
Okay, and when does that kick in?
January.
Right around January. I
You
would
feel a
say,
little bit
yeah.
restless? I love January because it's very quiet and we have a lot of just kind of pretty little snowfalls and there's not as much going on. But when February, March, April's getting hopeful,
Yeah.
but February and March you start to think, oh boy, where's Florida? Right, Barb? Okay, moving this way. So there is an antidote, and it's within you. This is the secret. There's an antidote to these long winters. So what we normally do, our default position, is to just simply complain and whine. Let's pretend like we're whining. I want to hear your best whine. Okay. All right. So here, that was pretty good. I was expecting a little louder, but that's all right. Okay. So part of the antidote is going to be, I'm going to lead you into it with a question. How many of you have a very specific idea of heaven, of what heaven's like?
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear it. What is heaven like in your thinking?
When you first get there, it'll be what you think it is.
Yeah.
Then you find out.
What you think it is?
Yeah.
Very good. So it's based on your perception?
Yeah.
Yes, David?
The Bible speaks about there's no more sorrow, no more crying,
Beautiful.
nothing like that. It talks about streets paved with gold.
Beautiful.
Bright light,
Bright light.
Yeah, right.
which
Right,
people
yeah.
want when it's dark in the winter.
What's that?
When you're darkness in the winter, so
Yeah.
that sounds good.
Yeah.
I picture a lot of music playing,
Yeah.
real beautiful music.
Ooh.
Yes.
Angel
From our
choir.
key musician.
Beauty galore that we really
Beauty
see
galore.
and many people that have had these near-death experiences, they just say like the intensity of things, they can't even describe it, the beauty you see here on earth, it sounds pale in comparison.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I picture it being a place where everybody's mask is off, including your own.
Ooh.
Yeah, I
I
was
love that.
Yeah.
For some, that's scary because if we've kept masks on most of our life or all of our life, it can be kind of a vulnerable thing that we feel. But we also, I'm with you, I love the idea that everything is clear and transparent, but that mercy reigns.
Yeah.
Right.
Mercy reigns.
It's safe to be open.
Yes.
Mhm.
So, yes, Alan?
Yeah, well, then comes the reaction of facing your defenses and your reflexes.
Yeah, and by God's mercy and grace, we are, I believe we're surrounded by aid, by more advanced angels who are leading us into our true self as we cross over.
I think I'll be immersed in my loves,
Yeah.
and I think I'll also be shown how some of those loves are not something I want to be in for eternity.
Uh-huh.
Then I'll be led to higher and higher loves
Good.
as I let go of those. You know, Swedenborg talks a lot about that. People think that heaven is eating apple pie all the time and doing all those things. Then they eat so much, they're like, please tell me there's something more than this.
And once again, my almost twin finds the message. Yes,
I
my.
look forward to reunion.
Ooh.
All those that have gone before me,
Yes.
and seeing the puzzle put together,
Yes.
being known as I am known, you know.
Beautiful. Such wisdom in this group. So some of the traditional ideas of heaven are angels playing harps on clouds. Some of them are people worshiping all day long. Some ideas of heaven are that everybody there is kind of, and this is kind of a negative spin, but those who are maybe not sure, they might say it's just full of people trying to be good all the time, trying to be good, goody two-shoes. So people's idea of heaven, I don't know, I think I want to be a little lower. Some people's ideas are people walking, or angels, or people walking around with very pious faces. Very much kind of like the Pharisees, wearing their gowns and their robes and looking holier than thou. And some people's concept of being in heaven is that we're really not in a body anymore. We're kind of in a puff, in kind of a cloud or an energy. And we really aren't really formed anymore. Some people's idea of heaven is more that we're just kind of merging into what, well, this would be a very Eastern Buddhist saying, which would be nirvana, or something where we're not really defined anymore. So these are all interesting ideas. These are more traditional ideas of heaven. And I've heard what yours are. Some people that I meet, and I don't know if this fits in your category, no judgment here ever in this church, but some people have a sense that heaven is far off, unreachable, maybe pie in the sky thinking. So it's kind of a sense of someday or a distance, that heaven is something that we'll face later. Yes, Alan?
Attitudes.
Attitudes.
Because I think that is personal, that certain, what your issues are in terms of the way you react to, you know, can you stand all this? You know?
Yeah. And, you know, I'll admit to you that in my earlier life, anything that was really good, I honestly, deep down, if I were to search my real feelings and thoughts and beliefs, that it would be too good to be true. That was really how I lived in my 20s, that heaven is too good to be true, that God loving me past everything I've done wrong would be more than you should ask for. And I know a lot of people have felt that way and said that to me as they face chronic illness and passing over. So there's a sense that heaven is an unreal promise for many people, and we kind of hope it's true, but maybe it's not really true. So when we get stuck in those, maybe, hopefully it's true, but I'm not sure if it's true, it's just something that we made up because it makes us feel better. If we're in that place, and we all are because we're human and we're on a journey, we're in process, when we're in that place, the things of this world are overwhelming, including daylight savings, including lack of light, including extreme cold, including just kind of struggling through the winter days. And those negative thoughts of struggle dominate our thoughts. We have a task before us each and every day. It's unique in winter because we feel like we have all that also to work against us. So we get stuck in, gosh, I'd like to move somewhere else. I can't tell you, every year since I've moved to Michigan, how Michiganders say, I'd like to move somewhere where it's sunny. Because then I'll be happy. Is that true?
No.
Listen this winter.
I went to Florida and I was miserable.
Remember to listen to what you
Horrible.
say this winter, to how you express the winter. Because nothing out here will ever make us happy. So, one of the antidotes, which is what I've been leading up to, is it has to do with how we live here and now. Swedenborg has a quote that I'm going to read to you slowly. And as a caveat, I'd like to just say that in the Swedenborgian Christian faith, that we actually believe that people become angels. You know, it's very common Christian, and it could be that we're not correct, it could be that we are correct. But in most of Christianity, angels are a step different than human beings, and that we don't become angels. But in Swedenborgian theology, human beings become angels and become devils. We are not God and we are not evil, but we are the choices that we make. So Swedenborg's quote, which is our antidote to the struggles of winter and within every struggle, quote, all who become angels carry their own heaven deep within themselves, because their love is the love that constitutes their heaven. So really, my brother Rhett hit the nail on the head today. It really has to do with heaven within. It has to do with what you love. So I'd like to ask you now, this is very didactic, very interactive message today, and I love it this way because you carry the Lord's wisdom as much as anyone. So my question is, what gives you the most joy? What makes you, not the little things, and the little things are heaven too, but what is your core love? What makes you shine no matter what time of year, no matter what's happening in your life? What makes you really, really joyful and happy? Alan?
Interacting with other people in a sense that but this, I just wanted to add something quick here.
Yeah.
How do we really react to other people? Gut, because we may be creating some of the tensions or problems that come in later on in our relating. That's
So relationship.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Really though, and gut, not the way we like to think of it.
Great. Anyone else?
I
Yes,
would
Karen?
say little children for me, I mean,
Oh.
not all.
Oh,
I mean, I have this, real quick, I have this wonderful new piano student that I just love. He's only 4.5. His uncle is the one that just died at Berkeley Music, and just love this kid. And now his older brother's going to take lessons, I think. And then my great niece and nephew. I mean, when the 2-year-old says down in Georgia, "Where's Aunt Karen?"
Oh.
She has asked my sister that, and I'm like, oh, that just makes me want to laugh and cry at the same time, if you know what I mean.
And it fills you up.
It just fills me up with joy, yeah.
That's another description of joy, is this just sense of being completely full and overflowing.
Yeah.
Great. Anyone else? What gives you joy?
I love when somebody does something for like just the good of doing something. For example, quickly, there was a guy in the news, retired black man, retired, or he's retired, and he could be fishing every day, and he adopts 5 black kids that that were going to be separated, and raises them as his own. And he's done it before, and then just the little things, like my little nephew Matt. We ran out of candy on Halloween, and a big drove of kids came to the door, and he starts reaching in his bag and handing out his own candy.
His own candy.
Without even being asked.
Oh, man.
It was wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So giving for its own sake.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Very good. Anyone else? What gives you joy? What makes you forget all the reasons to be unhappy? Yes. Margie?
music and the words to music. That's, I sometimes think God really did create, he's the word, but I think it came out in song, I really believe in that.
I do
Well,
too.
like the great
Great in
composers,
everything.
Beethoven and all them, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Songs.
Yeah, every time I go in for rehearsal with the Madison Chorale, I come out, I go in tired, and I come out with energy overflowing.
Mhm.
And I agree with you, I think music is the language of the angels,
Mhm.
yeah.
For me, it seems to be when I'm around, you know, not little kids, although them too, but no, teenagers.
Ooh.
I just forget, and preteen, you know, just kids.
Wow.
I just forget, I become a kid myself.
You know,
and I
you'd be
start-
great as a youth leader.
Yeah.
You know, you'd be great.
Yeah,
As a,
probably.
even just to be one of the chaperones up at Elmont, because if that gives you energy,
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh, when
too.
I go into retirement, I'm definitely gonna be
Yeah.
doing a lot of
I
that.
know, I hear you,
Mhm.
yep. So, how do you feel when you talk about your joy?
Happy.
Happy,
Happy
good.
and alive.
Yeah.
Light.
Energized.
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 Me
Energized.
too, and I haven't even said what I feel.
Yeah.
But I feel what you're feeling,
Tell us.
which is one of the descriptions of heaven, which is other people's joy is what you feel. Yes, Margie?
Another thing that really makes me feel joyful is seeing color, like that's like I like early fall, you know, like just,
Yeah.
and you know, like even looking at the sky in the fall, you have some beautiful, beautiful cloud formation and, you know, I can remember as a little kid just laying on the ground and, you know, just watching clouds, you know, for
Yeah.
shapes and things. And
Oh, you are a
And
kindred
just like-
spirit.
feeling nature, you know, the soothingness, and, you know, I'm thinking, wow, if God created this here and it's more intense there, that sounds great.
Yeah,
You know?
that's another
And you'll
truth.
be more aware and more attuned to, down here sometimes other things distract us, but I'm sure we'll see so differently, you know, we'll be so much more aware.
It's exciting,
Mhm.
it's thrilling.
I think that along with Joe, when anyone is either lifts up or is lifted up out of very difficult situations, I mean, that, I love to help people that way too, if I can in a little way, but that stuff really. And the reason I like heading toward Christmas is because many times on the news, you'll get inspired stories.
Yes, yeah.
You'll get humanity being presented.
Yeah, that we hardly ever hear.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I was gonna say too, is like, we all know there's suffering in the world, but when we see people, like you said, even a child just sharing their candy with other children, the joy that that brings, that, you know, there is a solution, and God created people to heal problems, you know, if they're just willing.
We, like, as Mother Teresa has said, we are his hands and feet. We are.
Christmas is a great time that everyone remembers all that, you know. It really brings me a lot of joy thinking about the past,
Ah.
remembering, you know, memories are things we always share. We compare our modern life to our memories,
Yeah.
whether we're happy or not, whether, you know, or as happy as we were. You know, when some people in my family died, you know, you get sad thinking about
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And I've really tried to purposefully, you know, think of happy thoughts when I think of them, so when I can think of my mother, it doesn't make me depressed, it puts a smile on my face.
Beautiful.
You know, you learn to, you know, you have to train your mind, I think, because it's easy to fall into despair.
It is.
And, you know, you think about those happy thoughts, and I think it takes you to a better place, you know.
Well said. That, that is a tool, that is a way that Mark just described to find joy. So right now, you know, we started this message by thinking maybe of heaven as something that we're thinking about in our heads, and something that waits for us. But actually, folks,
Within.
we're here. It's here. Right now. Heaven is in our midst, and it is also a promise. And so has anyone in the last 30 seconds thought of darkening days?
No?
Okay. Has anyone given a hoot about winter?
No?
No.
Folks, this is a 24/7 key. When you find yourselves bemoaning the darker days or circumstances of darkness in your life, this is as simple as it gets. Think about what gives you joy. Think about who gives you joy. For me, my core love is serving God anywhere, anytime, anyhow. I am blessed that I get to live my core love. It also leads me into many challenging situations. It leads me into sacrificing things I wouldn't normally do.
That's the word, yeah.
But in the sacrifice, in the letting go, more joy comes. Yes.
It's not a sacrifice, though. This is the.
It feels like
every
it.
question you're
Yeah.
asking starts with the word "we," not "I." How do I feel? The fact is, as we live, we go through different moods, and we're always changing. We're never the same. So we have all these selves, you know. So I think we have to learn to go from one to another to another. And I think that's more what heaven is like. You know, it's a group thing.
Very good. And
That's hard to do.
I love your comment that we're always changing. So heaven is actually an experience of movement. In the Hebrew tradition, the rabbis move. They physically move to represent how the Spirit, like a flame, continues to, it's living. The Spirit is living. So just when we think we know, get ready. Because that's why Jesus said, why do you not know the sign of the times? So the thing that you can hold on to, the key, the 24/7 key, when you're feeling darkness, either physically around you or inside of you, is to go to the love that makes you feel full. And when you do that, when you remind yourself, and Mark's comment about remembering, in the scriptures, God is always saying to the Israelites, make a marker, go back and remember in your minds of how I've loved you. And so the key to what you love is what gives you the most joy. And if you need to remember, if you need to go and do something that you really enjoy, that will take away the darkness like nothing else. Because God is in the very midst of the joy that you feel. So just as we were talking last year about gratitude journals, about how gratitude gets us centered into where the presence of the Lord is in our lives, I'm adding a new tool. Gratitude and joy. Yes, Margie?
Wow, oh, through scripture, the joy of the Lord
Yep.
is my strength. So we need to go to that joy, and we remember too. I've been told that over and over. You know, look back on your life. Remember how I've loved you.
Amen.